Syrian Jews are Jews who lived in the region of the modern state of Syria, and their descendants born outside Syria. Syrian Jews derive their origin from two groups. From the Jews who inhabited the region of today's Syria from ancient times, and from the Sephardi Jews who fled to Syria after the Alhambra decree forced the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492 CE. There were large communities in Aleppo and Damascus for centuries, and a smaller community in Karmashli on the Turkish border near Nusaybin. In the first half of the 20th century, a large percentage of Syrian Jews immigrated to the US, Latin America and Israel. Most of the remaining Jews left in the 28 years following 1973, due in part to the efforts of Judy Feldkar, who claims to have helped some 3,228 Jews emigrate. Emigration was officially allowed in 1992. The largest Syrian Jewish community is located in Brooklyn, New York and is estimated at 75,000 strong. There are smaller communities elsewhere in the United States and in Latin America. In 2011 there were about 50 Jews still living within Syria, mostly in Damascus. As of May 2012, only 22 Jews were left in Syria. This number was reported to be down to 18 in November 2015. History. There have been Jews in Syria since ancient times. According to the community's tradition, since the time of King David, and certainly since early Roman times. Jews from this ancient community were known as Muster Arabim to themselves, or Moriscos to the Sephardim. Many Sephardim arrived following the expulsion from Spain in 1492, and quickly took a leading position in the community. In the 18th and 19th centuries, some Jews from Italy and elsewhere, known as Señores Francos, settled in Syria for trading reasons, while retaining their European nationalities. Jews who are members of the Kurdish community represent another portion of Syrian Jewry whose presence in Syria predates the arrival of Sephardic Jews following the Reconquista. Today, there is no clear distinction between these groups, as they have intermarried extensively, and all regard themselves as Sephardim in a broader sense. It is said that one can tell Aleppo families of Spanish descent by the fact that they light an extra Hanukkah candle. This custom was apparently established in gratitude for their acceptance by the more native Syrian-based community. In the 19th century, following the completion of the Suez Canal in Egypt in 1869, trade shifted to that route from the overland route through Syria, and the commercial importance of Aleppo and Damascus underwent a marked decline. Many families left Syria for Egypt in the following decades, and with increasing frequency until the First World War. Jews left the Near East for Western countries, mainly Great Britain, the United States, Mexico and Argentina. Further emigration, particularly following the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, was largely caused by repetitive Muslim aggression towards the Jewish communities in Syria. Beginning on the Passover holiday of 1992, the 4,000 remaining members of the Damascus Jewish community as well as the Aleppo community and the Jews of Karmashli were permitted under the government of Hafez al-Assad to leave Syria provided they did not immigrate to Israel. Within a few months, thousands of Syrian Jews made their way to Brooklyn, with a few families choosing to go to France and Turkey. The majority settled in Brooklyn with the help of their kin in the Syrian Jewish community. Present-day Syrian Jewish communities. Israel. There has been a Jewish Syrian presence in Jerusalem since before 1850, with many rabbinical families having members both there and in Damascus and Aleppo. These had some contact with their Ashkenazi opposite numbers of the old Yishuv, leading to a tradition of strict orthodoxy. For example, in the 1860s there was a successful campaign to prevent the establishment of a Reform synagogue in Aleppo. Some Syrian traditions, such as the singing of Bakashot, were accepted by the mainstream Jerusalem Sephardi community. A further group immigrated to Palestine around 1900, and formed the Addis synagogue in Nashlayot. This still exists, and is the main Aleppo Rite synagogue in Israel, though its membership now includes Asiatic Jews of all groups, especially Kurdish. There is also a large Syrian community in Holland and Bat Yam. Many Jews fled from Syria to Palestine during the anti-Jewish riots of 1947. After that, the Syrian government clamped down and allowed no emigration, though some Jews left illicitly. In the last 2 decades, some emigration has been allowed, mostly to America, though some have since left America for Israel, under the leadership of Rabbi Albert Hamra. The older generation from prior to the establishment of the Israeli state retains little or no Syrian ethnic identity of its own and is well integrated into mainstream Israeli society. The most recent wave is integrating at different levels, with some concentrating on integration in Israel and others retaining closer ties with their kin in New York and Mexico. There is a Merkaz Olami Lamorchet Yahajit Aram T. Sober in Tel Aviv, which publishes books of Syrian Jewish interest. Britain. The main settlement of Syrian Jews was in Manchester, where they joined the local Spanish and Portuguese synagogues, which had a mixed community that included North African, Turkish, Egyptian and Iraqi as well as Syrian Jews. This community founded 2 synagogues, one in north-central Manchester, which has since moved to Salford, and the other on Queenston Road in West Didsbury, in the southern suburbs. A breakaway synagogue was later formed on Old Lansdowne Road with more of a Syrian flavour. It and the Queenston Road congregation have since merged, while retaining both buildings. They are still known as the Lansdowne Road Synagogue and the Queens Road Synagogue, after the names those streets bore in the 1930s. While there are still Sephardim in the Manchester area, a number have left for communities in the Americas. Despite their reduced numbers, there is currently an initiative to acquire a new site for a synagogue in Hale, to be closer to the current centers of the Sephardic and general Jewish populations. United States Syrian Jews first immigrated to New York in 1892. The first Syrian Jew to arrive was Jacob Abraham Dweck, along with Ezra Abraham Sitt. They initially lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Later settlements were in Bensonhurst, Midwood, Flatbush, and along Ocean Parkway in Gravesend, Brooklyn. There had been a further wave of immigration from Syria in 1992, when the Syrian government under Hafez al-Assad began allowing emigration of Jews. Argentina. The largest Jewish community in Argentina is in the capital Buenos Aires. The majority are Ashkenazim, but the Sephardim, and especially the Syrians, are a sizable community. Syrian Jews are most visible in the Once district, where there are many community schools and temples. For some decades there has been a good-natured rivalry between the Shami community of Sharat Tefillah Synagogue and the Haleby community of Sukkot David, across the street. The most influential rabbinic authority was Rabbi Isaac Chebar from the Yesid Hadit congregation on Laval Street. He was consulted from Mal across the globe, and had an influential role in the recovery of parts of the Aleppo Codex. There are many kosher butcher shops and restaurants catering to the community. There were important communities in the Boca and Flores neighborhoods as well. Many Syrian Jews own clothing stores along Avellaneda Avenue in Flores, and there is a community school on Felipe Valles Street. Some important clothing chains such as Chemi and Tawil, with tens of shops each, were started by Syrian Jews. Carolina Dua is an Argentine Syrian Jewish world champion boxer. Brazil. The majority of the Syrian community of Brazil come from Beirut, Lebanon, where they had lived since their expulsion from Syria following the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 and the subsequent violent anti-Jewish pogroms perpetrated by their Muslim neighbors. They left Beirut in wake of the First Lebanese Civil War. Most Syrian Jews established themselves in the industrial city of São Paulo, being attracted there by the many commercial opportunities it offered. The community became very prosperous. and several of its members are among the wealthiest and the politically and economically most influential families in São Paulo. The community first attended Egyptian synagogues, but later founded their own synagogues, most notably the Beit Yaakov synagogues in the neighborhoods of Jardins and Higienópolis. The community has its own school and youth movement, and claims a strong Jewish identity and low assimilation rate. The majority of the community affiliates itself with Jewish Orthodoxy, though few could be described as fully Orthodox. There are approximately 7,000 Syrian Jews in Brazil. Chile. With its liberal immigration policy, Chile attracted some Syrian Jews, particularly from Damascus, beginning in the late 1800s. Many Syrian Jews also escaped from Syria and Palestine, provinces of the Ottoman Empire during the World War I. At present there are 2,300 Syrian Jews in Chile. Mexico. There have been Jews from Damascus and Aleppo in Mexico City since the early years of the 20th century. Originally they worshipped in a private house transformed into a synagogue, Sinagoga Ketana, located in Calles de Jesus Maria. The first organized Jewish community in Mexico was Alianza Monte Sinai, founded on June 14, 1912, mainly by natives of Damascus and led by Isaac Capon. They later founded the first synagogue, Monte Sinai, on Justo Sierra Street in downtown Mexico City, originally led by Rabbi Lanyardo, which still holds a daily service of Minna. The Damascene community also bought the first Jewish burial place in Tacuba Street on June 12, 1914, which is in use to this day and has been expanded by the recent purchase of the adjacent land. The Rodfer Tzedek Synagogue, for Aleppan Jews, was established in 1931, largely through the efforts of Rabbi Mordechai Jati. This synagogue, known also as Nice de Córdoba, is situated at 238 Córdoba Street in the Colonia Roma quarter of Mexico City. At the time this neighborhood was home to the largest concentration of Jews from Aleppo in Mexico City. The first mikveh in Mexico was established within the Rodfer Tzedek Synagogue. In 1982 a funeral house was built in the courtyard of the synagogue. Also in the 1930s the members of Monte Sinai established a large synagogue for Damascene Jews situated at 110 Querétaro Street in the Colonia Roma area. They have welcomed Jews of all backgrounds into their midst, which has allowed tremendous growth over the years. In 1938, Jewish immigrants from Aleppo set up Sociedad de Beneficencia Tzedakah Umape, which evolved into a separate Jewish community. Since 1984 it has been known as Comunidad Miguen David. Monte Sinai and Miguen David are now the largest Jewish communities in Mexico, having more than 30 synagogues, a community center and a school each, with Miguen David having at least 5 schools and plans for more. Monte Sinai is led today by the philanthropist and Jewish leader Marcos Metacohen. Panama also received a large number of Syrian Jewish immigrants, mostly from Haleb, where they constitute the largest group in Panama's 10,000-strong Jewish Sephardic community. Most of the immigrants arrived in the late 1940s after riots in Aleppo due to the Arab-Israeli conflict. The community consists of many synagogues, all united under its flagship, Shevet Tehim Synagogue, where their late chief Rabbi Zion Levi officiated. The community maintains close contact with their counterparts in North America as well as Israel. In his later years, Rabbi Levi oversaw the construction of new synagogues in Panama City and worked for smooth relations with the country's Arab and Muslim communities. He frequently phoned the country's imam for a talk. By the time of his death, the Shevet Tehim community numbered 10,000 Jews, 6,000 of whom are Torah observant. The community now includes several synagogues, mikvahs, 3 Jewish schools, a yeshiva, a kollel, and a girls' seminary, along with several kosher butchers. Studies have estimated that there are over 400,000 descendants of Jamaican Sephardic Jews in Jamaica. Norval Marley, the father of Bob Marley, was of Syrian Jewish descent. Haley B. Shami divided in diaspora as Syrian Jews migrated to the New World and established themselves. A divide frequently persisted between those with roots in Aleppo and Damascus, which had been the two main centers of Jewish life in Syria. This split persists to present day, with each community maintaining some separate cultural institutions and organizations, and to a lesser extent, a preference for in-group marriage.